Hey, good morning. So we are going to go over some of the stuff that you're going to be looking at today, and I believe this stuff is due on Monday. So for you guys, yeah, you guys have today and then Monday. So all the stuff we're looking at today doesn't all have to be done today or Monday. And this is the stuff on the. Let me just look at the actual numbers here. So what we're looking at now is you should have, by the end of today, or you should have already finished section 1, focus on success in Math 6. We're on section 2. It says whole numbers and decimals. Specifically, by the end of the day, Monday, you should be done with the 2.1 section. 2.1, which is identifying the value of whole numbers. And there's several things there, ending with a discussion on using number sense to plan a class. Using number sense to plan a trip discussion. So those are kind of the things that you're looking at between now and Monday. Try not to work ahead of that. That's kind of the area you need to be in. So some of the kinds of problems you're going to be looking at are going to be on this presentation here. This doesn't replace the reading you need to do because there's this stuff they're going to go into that I'm not. I'm just going to overview some stuff based on the practice and all that. You still need to do the reading. This is just kind of a general introduction to all that for you. All right, so one of the things we look at is place value. Now, place value is something you've probably been doing for quite some time, and chances are I probably don't even need to go into it. Since we're kind of beginning this and learning, I kind of don't know where you are. I'm going to go ahead and go over this kind of problem really quickly. So we know that, if we have our decimal here, anything to this side of the decimal is a whole number. So we're dealing with just whole numbers right now. The first digit, try to write here, is the ones place. So we got the ones there. And then going over, we have our tens place. And then hundreds. Gosh, it is not easy to write sideways on this kind of screen. So we got ones, tens, hundreds, and then there'll usually be a comma if there's anything else. And then the next number over is thousands. And then 10,000. And then 100,000s. 100,000s. I'm just going to put that 100,000s. And then we get to our millions, and it just keeps going. So that's enough to get this problem. If you could always look at, if you looked up let me switch colors so this stands out. I bet there's one in the presentation. I haven't looked at every single part of it. I'm sorry, the reading that you do. But if not, if you just Google place value chart, you should be able to find something that will help you with any problems like this. All right, so this specific problem says what's the value of the 8? That's the underlined digit. So the 8 is in the, let's see, ones. I just use my mouse to point. We have our one spot, our tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. So the 8 is in the 10,000 spot. So the 8 is worth 80,000. Pause the video for a second. All right, so the next kind of problem will be just writing things in word form. So there's one mistake that even older students generally make with this, and I'll try to point that out as I'm going through. First, we need to understand the place value. So we have a place value chart here, written a little hard to read, sorry. But what I notice is the 2 is right before the comma. It's 4 numbers over, so that's in the thousands place. So that 2 has a value of 1,000. So to write in words, I'm going to write 2,000. And then the 5 is in the hundreds place. 500. All right, and then one common mistake people make is they'll put the word and, because that's often the way that we say these when we say them out loud. We'll say 2,545. But you've probably heard this before. Technically, we don't use the word and unless there's a decimal. So like a decimal would be denoted by the word and. So since there's not a decimal in this number, we don't use and. We just write 2,545. And that would be the word form of that number. So on these, since we're not dealing with decimals just yet, and if you're writing word forms, you would not use the word and in any of these unless you see a decimal, and then that decimal is read as an and. All right, for questions 3 and 4, we're going to compare using greater than, equal to, and so on. So this first symbol here, is our less than symbol. The second symbol means greater than, and then we know that this third symbol is equals. So I always think it always opens up to the biggest number. So if it's going this way, it's opened up to the second number. That means the first number is smaller. It's pointing at the smaller number. So that means the first number is less than the second one because the second one's bigger. If it's opened up to the first number, that means the first number is greater than the second because it's opening up and showing the first number is bigger. So we're going to compare these two. If you may be able to just see it, but if you can't, one of the strategies you could use is to write them. Oh, geez, let me undo that. Write one on top of the other, lining up your digits. Like that. As if I were adding or subtracting them, sort of. And then we can kind of see which one's bigger a little more easily. Like right here, they're both 400,000. So right now I can't tell. They both have a 0 here, so right now I can't tell. Right at this point, I can see which one's bigger. This one's 402,000. This one's 403,000. The 3 is bigger than the 2. So since this is 403,000 and this is 402,000, I know that this number here is bigger because it has a bigger number there. The rest of the digits don't matter because the thousands place has a higher value. And so we know that the 402,999 is less than 403,000. And we'll do the same process here. Once again, if you can just see this, you don't need to do what I'm doing now. This is just if you can't manage to see it just by looking at it. So this was a little easier. We can see that first digit's different, right? A 100,000, 139,000. The 1 is clearly smaller than 300. This has a value of 300,000. So I know that this number here is larger, which means just like before, this one's less than. Now we're going to order from least to greatest. The little trick that we talked about to compare them, where we lined up the digits, will actually help you a lot here. So we have this as our first number, 543,341. And then we have this number here is our second number, 241,143. Then we have 54,000 as our next number. And then our last number as 043. So I'm just going to work left to right again to compare. Notice I have a 5 and a 2 and then some zeros. So I can automatically tell that those two numbers are going to be bigger than the bottom two because these go into the 100,000s. These don't have 100,000s. They stop at 10,000s. So I need to do least to greatest, so these two are going to come last. So let's look at the bottom two. Just going to compare the bottom two now. So I have a 5 and a 4. So since I need to find the least, the smallest 10,000ths digit is the one with the 4. So that's the smallest number. So in my list, I'm going to put the smallest one first. I'm going to cross it out down here. I know that this one's next because we already decided that the top two were the smallest. So I'm going to put 54,000 next. And then we have the one with the 2 in the 100,000s and the 5. Since 2 is smaller than 5, the 2 comes next. I'll put semicolons here. And the reason I'm doing semicolons is because we already have a comma in the number. So I'm going to put the 241,143. And then another semicolon. It's hard to fit in there. I think it's a little off your screen, sorry. And then the highest number would be 543,341. So this was the smallest. I know it's hard to see, so I'm going to number them. This was the next one. This was the next biggest, and then this was the biggest. So that would be the order you would put those in. All right. So we have a few minutes left. This is kind of probably the one that's going to be the toughest for you to wrap your head around. It's tough to use a lot of different sorts of numbers. There's a lot of numbers that go into planning a trip, but to me, this was kind of a stretch to really incorporate a lot of the place value stuff and stuff like that. So what we hopefully will get from this is we'll put some numbers in there and just practice writing a paragraph that involves math and some numbers. So what I'm looking at more is just you constructing your actual writing in this and framing it in a way that makes sense and that has complete sentences and stuff like that. So it says, discuss how you will use number sense to plan a trip to your state capital. In your response, include the numbers that would be needed for this trip. Explain how understanding place value, number of properties, and the computation of numbers can help with your planning. So when you're crafting a discussion to a topic like this, this is the last thing it's due by the end of the day Monday. It says you'll need to respond to at least one post, so we can wait till after Monday to respond. The main part of this is due by Monday, then we can go back and talk about how to do the response. So all you worry about now is the top part. So I'm going to delete this, just worry about the top. All right. So when you're doing a math writing assignment like this, we want to generally start off by restating the prompt. So basically you're going to reword what they told you to write about. So for me to do that, what I'll probably look to do is I'll say something like, when planning a trip to my state capital. Okay. I think I did capital. No, I spelled it like they spelled it. Okay. Planning a trip to my state capital, I would use the following types of numbers. This one's kind of a tough one to restate just because of the way it's written, so I'm doing it the best I can. I'm going to use this and then use a colon to talk about it. You won't do this in all your math discussions. This is just for this one because that's the easiest way for me to think of it. But there's other ways to do it. Probably that's just the way I could think of it and wrap my head around it right now. So I'll use the following types of numbers. And so now we're going to, after we've restated the prompt, we're going to answer the question. So we're going to answer the question. We restate, then we answer. So use the following types of numbers. So let's see. If I'm driving to the state capital and planning a trip, one thing I'm going to care about is the miles to destination. I would not suggest you copy this directly. I'm trying to sort of give you some stuff to get you started. So don't copy what I have. Hopefully use this as a suggestion to launch for yourself, because this is not necessarily exactly what you would want to do. I want you to think some on your own. So miles to destination. I also care about like how far my car is going to be able to go. So miles per gallon on my car, like how many am I going to have to stop for gas? Stuff like that. I'm trying. Those are a couple of the things that we could care about. So I want you to think of. I'm sorry. I'm like looking at my time here, and I have 30 seconds left. So keep thinking along those lines, and then the rest of your paragraph will be elaborating on those things. Like, what did you mean? What by miles to destination? Why does that matter? Why does the miles per gallon in your car matter? Stuff like that, and then that should help. Maybe the price of gas would matter, right? Because you need to know how much you're going to need to spend. And then the rest of your paragraph will be elaborating on that first sentence. describing it more. Let me know what questions you have, and I'll help you individually as you need it.